All right. Hello, everyone. Today, we're diving right into our AMC theme, Relations au monde, by looking at a single document. Our focus is going to be squarely on the axes Rivalries et Interdependances. We're about to see just how much a single newspaper from one day can tell us about our complex, interconnected world. So here's the big question that's going to guide us through this whole explainer. How can something as ordinary as a daily newspaper actually unpack the entire complex web of the global economy? By the end of this, you'll see that it's basically a treasure map of the forces shaping our world. Let's get into it. Okay, here's our plan. Pretty straightforward. We'll start with the big idea of interdependence. Then, we'll jump into two case studies, one economic, one geopolitical. After that, and this is super important, we'll look at how to build a great argument for the baccalaureate. And finally, we'll wrap up by thinking about why any of this still matters today. Right, first things first, let's be crystal clear on how this connects to your course. We are deep inside Theme 3, Relation au monde, and we're zeroing in on that key axis, Rivalité et interdépendance. Everything we do today is designed to help you really nail down the concepts you need for this part of the program. And here it is. This is our primary source, our key piece of evidence. A single edition of the Financial Times from way back on February 10th, 2015. I want you to think of it like a time capsule, a snapshot of the entire global economy frozen on one specific day. Every single article, every headline is a clue for us. So the big word for today is interdependence. What does it actually mean? Well, as you can see, it's this idea of being mutually reliant on each other. In economics, it's this huge, complicated web connecting everyone through trade, finance, you name it. And this leads to massive consequences, right? Things like energy dependency or the kind of trade disruptions people were worried about even before Brexit. Okay, so now that we've got a handle on what interdependence is, let's see how it actually plays out as economic rivalry. We're going to zoom right into our first case study from the newspaper to see these forces at work back in 2015. And bam! Right there on the front page, we get this perfect example of rivalry that's happening inside the European Union. This table breaks down the Greek debt crisis for us. You can see Greece is totally dependent on its creditors, like Germany, but at the same time, it's trying to fight back. It creates this incredibly tense standoff, a textbook illustration of interdependence. This quote is just brilliant. It captures the whole feeling of the conflict. It's not just a comment, is it? It's a veiled threat. The German finance minister is basically using the power of the financial markets as a weapon to remind Greece who's in charge. He's weaponizing their interdependence. Now, it wasn't just Greece. Elsewhere in the same paper, another huge economic rivalry was heating up. Even in 2015, a whole year before the referendum, the fight over Britain's future in the EU was already intense. And this slide shows just how tough the choices were, each one with massive consequences, all because of how deeply interconnected Britain's economy was with Europe. Okay, let's shift gears. Our second case study moves into geopolitics. This is where we see what happens when political and military conflicts send massive shockwaves through the entire global economic system. Now, this quote is incredibly powerful, and it really hits you. It comes from a soldier in eastern Ukraine, and it highlights the awful human cost of war. But what's crucial for our analysis is to see that this military rivalry also had deep, deep economic roots and consequences that rippled out across the entire globe. And when you read the articles from that day, you can literally see the ripple effect spreading out. The conflict in Ukraine wasn't some isolated regional issue. No way. It was causing huge political cracks within the EU itself. And get this last point, it's absolutely wild. The stock market in Nigeria crashes, and it's directly linked to the war in Ukraine. It just shows you how sensitive and interconnected everything really is. Okay, so we've done all this great analysis, but how do you turn that into marks on your baccalaureate? That's the million-dollar question, right? So let's get really practical and break down the method for building a perfect, high-scoring paragraph. This little three-step structure is your secret weapon. I'm serious. First, you state your idea. Then you prove it with some evidence from the text. And finally, you explain the connection. Idea, evidence, explanation. It's simple, it's clear, and it is so powerful. So, step 1, you start with a really clear topic sentence, your idea. Notice how this one gets straight to the point and uses the key language of our axis, economic rivalries. Next up, step 2 is all about the proof. You need evidence. And a short, precise quote from the document is the perfect way to do it. This shows the examiner you've actually read and understood the source material. And finally, step 3. This is where the real analysis happens, the explanation. You have to explain why your evidence proves your idea. Look at the key vocabulary here. We're using words like rivalry and interdependent system to tie it all back directly to the AMC program. This is absolutely crucial. So you might be wondering, okay, this is interesting, but why are we digging up a newspaper from 2015? It's a fair question. Let's wrap things up by zooming back out and seeing why this snapshot is actually so relevant to us right now.
Just look at this comparison. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? The specific headlines have changed, of course, but the fundamental problems, they're still here. The fear of Grexit has just turned into other EU economic worries. The Brexit debate became a messy reality. And tragically, the conflict in Ukraine escalated. The rivalries we saw in 2015 are absolutely still shaping our world.
And all of this brings us back to one final, really big question for you to think about. This whole web of global interdependence, is it ultimately a good thing that brings stability and makes us all richer? Or is it just an accident waiting to happen, a system that's bound to create conflict and crisis? It's a great question because it connects our axis today to other themes in the AMC program, like power and identity. I'll leave you to chew on that one. Thanks for your attention.